this week I've been wrapping up, helping my dad finish picking corn. Got a few acres left. We had a breakdown. Spent most of the day trying to fix that on Tuesday. But we're getting back up and running, and we picked some corn today. So that was a good day. And what I want to bring here today is something I was talking to my dad about that I learned a few years ago. And that's an idea that you only get about 40 shots as a farmer to figure it out. 40 attempts to be a good farmer. That whatever you put in the ground in the spring, you've got to wait to the fall to harvest it, to figure out, did that work? What do I need to figure out and change? Also, just be able to see what needs to be changed. Sometimes, as in your own life, you just can't see what you need to change. So as a farmer, as different things happen, different breakdowns, different simple things like today we were talking about how my one field we were picking was an early corn. And in corn, there's early corn and there's longer corn. And the average is about 110 days. So you can get a little bit of before, like 100-day corn, or you can get like 120-day corn. And you kind of plant a variety of that so that you're picking at different times and then it's all getting ripe, not all at once. Well, my dad left this early cornfield till the end. He's like, that'll be drier. It'll work out. We just put it right in the bin. Well, that field ended up getting hit by a windstorm and was just a disaster to try to pick. Now, my dad's been farming since the moment he could farm in the very beginning of his life as a kid. And yet something like this was still a lesson that he was learning. I feel like one of those like, really? You didn't learn that before? But still, every season there's something to be learned. Because as you think about it, in the context of how many years he's been alive, in the context of how long he's been farming, you think, man, he should have learned that a long time ago. But in the context of only 40 shots, 40 attempts to try to learn what you need to know. And that's not a lot. Same thing can kind of apply to fatherhood, where we can often get caught up in trying a lot of different things, but not really giving it enough time to see what sticks. And as a farmer, it's entirely the long game. Literally, you try your best in the spring. You try to plant under the ideal conditions. You do all the different things to prep the soil just right, and you hope and pray that it ends up at the other end. And that's kind of like fatherhood. You do all these things between 0 and 10. You try to treat them different ways. You try to help them different ways. And you see what happens when they're teenagers. Did it stick? Did they understand how these things that you're trying to teach them over years started working? And just like in farming, you only get about 40 shots, 40 seasons to get it right. I mean, you only get about 18 years as a dad to try to figure it out before your time is done and they're off on their own and the mistakes will be theirs to make and figure out how to get through. But we don't often slow down to really have that perspective. And so I kind of just wanted to bring this episode and this idea to kind of bring the illusion of how many tries we usually do have to get it right. Sometimes in simple stuff, it's that didn't work yesterday, we'll try something new today. But there's different things like behavior, social emotional learning, helping them understand how to work through the emotions. These are things that are like reiterative over and over and over. And you're trying to figure out what can get through, what can change your behavior, like what changes it over 5 days. These things are more the long game. And not everything in life is a microwave. Not everything can have instant results. Not everything that you apply in anything, even an idea or a podcast. These podcasts were started with an idea of, I hope they work. But through sowing the seeds, they work. And many things have come from them. But that's something I knew when I first started. And you don't know what the winter, the fall, the summer, the weather, the droughts, rain. You don't know any of that when you put the seeds in the ground. Same thing when you become a dad. You don't know what the next 18 years of the world's going to look like. So I want to just leave you with this thought. Think about how much time has passed already. Think about how many chances you got left to try to figure this out. But then also realize the importance and the intention to figure it out. To keep trying, to never give up. That you only get a few shots before some of this stuff either starts sticking for the good or some of this stuff pulls away and you're like, man, that was the wrong choice. There was a statistic I read a while back, a few years, that said like 70% of a kid's personality is already determined by the age of 7. Think of that. You have 7 years to get 70% of their personality right and to figure out what they can do, how they can behave, the tools they need, just basic programming for what it's going to be in the next few years of life. That's a scary responsibility. So just slow down, realize you need some attention, and you only get a few shots to try to get this working. And different things are quick, some things are long, but like farming, you only got 40 shots to make it right. And dad, you got about 18 to make it right. Try to give them the tools they need. And now it doesn't end when they're 18. But it really kind of becomes their own, and they're always going to come back to dad. Hopefully, if you have that relationship, they're going to come back to you to ask questions. I hope my kids come back to me to ask questions. But realize it's a lot bigger of a game that we're playing, and it's not as quick and microwavable as we had hoped. And I'll be back again with you guys tomorrow.